Hey guys, now that we've cherry-picked our comparables, we need to look at the particulars. This is where the fun begins. The differences with your subject home and the comparables should be few. Next comes the categories of compatibility. Now, you need to concentrate on finding comparable sales that have characteristics similar to those of your own subject's home. A variety of these parameters are listed below in descending rank of importance, where the first is more important than the last listed. So we have similar neighborhood, square footage of living space, a number of rooms, so forth. So the first compatibility category is essential when choosing your your comparable. The value of residential real estate is estimated by comparing the subject with similar properties that have been sold recently. So again, you got to look at your subject's neighborhood to find comparable sales or similar neighborhoods that share similar characteristics of lifestyle, income level, the surroundings, the average age, and the value of the house. Now, neighborhoods, they have boundaries and they have barriers to the next neighborhood, which may signal an abrupt change in lifestyle, like railroad tracks or freeways or highways, maybe even major traffic arteries. And you have lakes and you have rivers and mountains, etc. So there's political boundaries too that are created for government purposes, such as school districts, assessment districts, zoning districts, even city limits. So you need to focus on finding comparable homes in similar neighborhoods for your analysis. Usually, most adjustments on the comparative evidence are few, maybe two or three or four adjustments per home or less. Now, if the appeal is not solved at the assessor's level, request the property assessor's comparative evidence. The property tax assessor's skill set for assessing a home may not be accurate. Often, property tax assessors are appointed. They're a political appointment. They may lack the skill set, and they have a lifetime job and prejudice to preserve the tax base. So it's good to look over their evidence. I mean, I've seen their evidence comps comparing 5-bedroom houses to a 2-bedroom home. I've seen on similar square footage not taken into account. I've seen lakefront views with no adjustment to a house without a lakefront view. I've seen client homes subject to high decibel noise from nearby highways not taken into account, since the verified evidence from a 2-year study founded by a university concluded that a 14 to 18% decrease in property value for residential properties were being located within a 65 decibel contour from a train traffic noise is necessary and valid. It could be not only train noise, it could be traffic noise from cars and trucks. Could be aircraft noise from a nearby airport. Anyhow, the total adjustments measuring the difference that the assessor gives should be no more than 15% of the gross adjustments, are they? Are the total adjustments for comparative that the assessor presents no greater than 25% of the sales price? These are according to Fannie Mae guidelines. And remember that the more comparables are like your house, the less adjustments will be necessary and the more accurate your appraisal for market value will be. So be prepared to overview and to challenge and refute the assessor's comps if they're out of line. Our market valuation and property tax appeal course covers infinite possibilities and thousands of possibility parameters, and it covers all adjustment categories except historic home valuations. The reason being it's too subjective, since finding a comparable historical home sale in the same area is extremely rare. So adjustments are applied to comparable homes in order to adjust the sales price for a sold home so that the final adjustment price reflects the subject's value. There are many unique situations where it is in one's best interest to have a professional market valuation and property tax appeal course at their disposal. That way it would save you time and guarantee your accuracy. Because properties are seldom alike, it'll be necessary to make adjustments between the comparable properties when compared to the main subject property. This process equalizes the properties by way of comparison. So an adjustment is a decrease or increase in the sales price of a comparable property to account for features that the property has or does not have in comparison to the subject property. So in other words, the comparable properties are adjusted to reflect the value of the subject property. So you never adjust the subject property. If two houses were identical in every way, except that the subject property, that'd be your house maybe, did not have a deck, and a comparable property did have a deck, and it's superior to your house because it has a deck, the value of the comparable would be adjusted downward. So being both houses are equal in every way except for a deck, the comp house is more valuable than your house because your house had no deck and the comp house did have a deck. The negative adjustment for that comp house will reflect on your home being less valuable than the comp. So take time to browse through the analysis page in order to gain familiarity with the sample market analysis layout. By this method, the subject or your house reflects more value when compared to a comparable house with a deficient item, such like no decks, no garage, no basement, etc. Always remember, comparable sales must be adjusted and not the subject property. The subject property is the standard which the comparable sales are evaluated and adjusted against. Usually there will be square footage differences or a garage or maybe 3 or 4 category differences, maybe fewer, maybe even no significant differences for your comps. So thus, if an item in the comparable property is superior to that of the subject property, a minus adjustment is required to make that item equal to that of the subject property. Conversely, if an item in the comparable property is inferior to that of the subject property, a plus adjustment is required to make that item equal to that of the subject property. Now that's according to Fannie Mae, the Federal National Mortgage Association, and that's what we adhere to. So the limits for adjustments are with gross adjustments, that is the total individual adjustments measured differences in any comparable to your house or lot should be no greater than 25% of the sales price. Now, any net adjustments, that is, any individual adjustments reflecting a difference between the comparable and your subject property or your house and lot should be no greater than 15% of the sales price. Again, that's according to Fannie Mae guidelines. Remember that the more comparables are like your house, the less adjustments will be necessary and the more accurate the appraisal will be. So we suggest you keep your individual assessments no higher than 10% to avoid any scrutiny. Large assessments indicate incomparable sales. So if a very large adjustment is necessary, you need to have an addendum narrative to explain what the evidence is. So to recap, you've learned about the specific areas of valuation adjustments. So if you're versed in 5th grade math, there's not a problem, right? In the next video, I'm going to reveal that ultimate final home market value property appraisal conclusion, which is derived off our property tax adjustment category data. The correct final accurate market value conclusion is absolutely essential since it's necessary for winning any property tax appeal. So subscribe to the channel to get this 10-part series, and you'll see the link in the description and you'll be notified. I'm putting in a lot of content at the moment. And don't forget to leave a comment down below and give us a thumbs up if you can. And so I'll see you in the next video.